Expansion is coming to baseball, and for the Rays, it could mean swapping out the Red Sox and Yankees for the Braves and the Marlins.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. The Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and we are Kevin and Ulises.
We are lifelong Rays fans who have been podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
On today's show, we'll discuss why MLB should focus on geographical leagues instead of divisions. In a few minutes, we'll discuss how MLB expansion could reshape identity and a future playoff path for the Rays. But first, we'll begin with MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred's radical realignment plan.
But first, we got to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Just quick aside here, really weird that the Rays didn't play yesterday. That was odd.
Yeah, that was really odd.
Yeah, it was crazy how they just did not play ball and everybody else was playing ball.
Show up. It should have just been rained out completely. That would have been better for all of us.
We actually got a couple of comments here, and I want to put them up on the YouTube. So if you're not on YouTube, go ahead and go to YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe. Both Gary and Ryan were talking about what about if when expansion happens, how that would create some division realignment. 32 teams, 4-team divisions like the NFL, broken up into East, North, South, and West. A potential division of Rays, Marlins, Braves, and an expansion team based in either Nashville or Raleigh. How could this benefit the Rays? It would be a big change. So first, I'd like to say let's focus on how this expansion and realignment. Let's talk about identity first. I think that's the most important part of this is the Rays have always been the little brother in the AL East division, right? We know that in 2008, the from last to first run created this new sense of we belong here, and it's always been big brothers, Yankees and Red Sox trying to bully the Rays, not only with payroll, but usually with, honestly, bigger dudes
right.
on the squad.
And it creates a good, David versus Goliath situation as well. We're the redheaded stepchild. We're the little engine that could. And, those pesky Rays. And being able to sometimes unseat them. And we've seen fights and clashes. And it's made for an entertaining brand of baseball that it's a good storyline basically for the league to be able to hype that up. And now that may all be changing if MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred gets his way. And I will say this, Manfred has gotten his way with a lot of changes and a lot of evolutions and a lot of progressiveness with baseball for better or worse. And at the very least, we might not like everything that he's doing or about to do, but you have to give him some credit for thinking outside the box and moving into the 21st century, even with the backdrop of old-timey baseball and traditionalists fighting him on that.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big part, right? So I know that it might not seem it, but we have seen a lot of baseball, more than a quarter century already. And that means that we know about the tradition. We know that baseball is just not knee deep, but like head deep in tradition. So potentially realignment and division changing and your identity as a club of the AL East always going at it with basically the best, because I think in the last 25 years, a handful of times, the AL East hasn't been seen as the most toughest division, right? It's odd when it doesn't happen, that it's the strongest. So you have built a reputation for being a stable and productive organization within the best division in baseball. That gives you a sense of we can do this. I think that would really change without being in the AL East. If the Rays now rivalries go to Miami and the Braves and an expansion team, first, let's tackle that. What kind of rivalry are you going to have with a new team? Zero.
Yeah.
Nashville or Raleigh, I don't care. It's going to be or Charleston, whichever southeast.
Or Orlando. Orlando's
Sure.
been thrown about.
Sure. The dreamers, they can keep dreaming like we were dreaming about, not losing 13-3. But if it's just that new team is not going to be a true rival, at least not for a while, until something happens, and something will happen, but something has to happen first. So that's number one. With the Braves and the Marlins, I think with the Marlins, yeah, there's an in-state rivalry already there, but it's really very.
It's kind of a joke, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not there. And then with the Braves, I think the biggest thing with the Braves is the fact that a lot of Rays fans were Braves fans.
Yes.
So now with this, if you put the Rays and the Braves in this division, you might have an issue here where ultimately authentic OG Braves fans would say, hey, my team now, I can actually see them on the regular.
Right.
There's no blackouts anymore. I can potentially see my Braves play the Rays 13 times, 15 times, however many times that they put it. It might be an opportunity for me to get my Brave stuff from the closet and go back to my roots. That's the biggest issue, I think, with this.
Yeah, there's some of that. And just in general, I think that it gives an opportunity for fans of any of the teams in perhaps this new division to travel to more road games. It's a lot more feasible to make a weekend trip to Miami if you live in the Tampa Bay area than it is to go to New York or Boston or Baltimore. Same thing if you're going to Atlanta or a Nashville or a Charlotte or something like that. I think that really one of the biggest keys out of this is the travel that will be cut down across the board, not just for the Rays, but for all 30 and soon to be 32 teams. If you are structuring your realignment to where the teams are located, where 4 teams are located. Okay, you got the California teams, they're all in one bunch. You got the Florida Southeast teams all in one bunch. To me, it makes a lot of sense to cut down on that travel time, which hopefully, is kind of a win for the players and, might cut down on some injuries down the line as well.
And if you are trying to diminish that from happening, the injuries and all that, maybe we could see some guys going back to being used 140, 150 games and not having to sit them for load management or however you want to call it, because of the travel. Like, hey, you're no longer going cross country all the time. Yeah. Maybe we can see these guys more and more, because ultimately that's what the fans are paying that ticket, is to see the guys that are supposed to be playing most of the time on there. So,
and same thing for the call-ups too. You're bringing guys up from Durham. Maybe you only have to travel to Atlanta or Miami or Nashville versus, we got to, not depending on who they're playing, when they're playing, and where they're playing, but it could kind of work out a little bit more symbiotically when you're trying to call up some of those guys, whether it's a pitcher or a hitter or whatever it may be. So,
but the rivalries would definitely change, I think. But I think it would take some time, obviously, to grow that into what we have with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the David and Goliath. That wouldn't be the case. But it's not just who the Rays play, Kev. Expansion also raises the question of which league they would actually call home. Have you ever decided to head to the ball game at the Stein last minute with friends or family? We have, and we always hope that we're not going to see a 13-3 drubbing against the Pinstripes, and I hope you don't. But if you were to go, hey, easiest way to grab last minute tickets is Game Time. There is no stress. It's literally the opposite of watching the Rays lose 13-3 against the Yankees. Zero stress, so much happiness. And there's no guesswork. There's no, will we come out of this? No, Game Time makes it so simple for you, and it has incredible last minute details. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for listening to Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, talking about playoff path. So, if you already know, obviously, that the Braves and the Marlins are in the National League, and you're saying, wait, how are we going to be an American League team in the National? Well, it would be that the Rays would move in this scenario to the National League. I think it was a very easy call for everybody that's been putting their dream divisions and the dream realignments to just move the Rays out of the American League. You're not going to move the Yankees. You're not going to move the Red Sox, and you're not even going to move the Orioles or the Blue Jays, right? So the Rays seem like the easy. Okay, we can just put them wherever we want, and so being a 1998 team, one of the last expansion teams, that makes sense, but I don't really have an issue with that because when I started thinking about the playoff path, Kev, the playoff path seems more doable in a situation where you don't have to battle year in and year out against the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. Like, those are two big payrolls that are always having pressure from their fandom to always go to the playoffs, to not be bad. So you already have to get those two guys in there. You've had to battle the Orioles' new call-ups in the last 3-4 years. You've had to endure the Blue Jays saying, hey, you know what? We can spend money here too. So it's been very difficult for the Rays lately. It's been great for their rivalry shaping identity, fine. But the playoff path, I think, could get easier, at least a little bit, if you put them with an expansion team and with the Miami Marlins in the same division.
Yeah, Ulises, I think we all agree that it would be more ideal if you're in a division with the Marlins and the Braves and whoever this expansion team is, which my experience is it takes expansion teams some time to get some footing off the ground. So I don't want to call them automatic wins, but your chances and hope to bank some wins against a team like that, plus the Marlins, we know the Braves are usually pretty solid and always good. That is much more easier to stomach than, oh, we've got the upstart Blue Jays and the upstart Orioles and the consistent Yankees and Red Sox. Now, as far as like, being moved from the American League to National League, to me, it doesn't matter. I don't care if we want to call it AL, NL, East, West. To me, that's not a big deal. I'm more focused on making things make sense geographically. And you give this enough time, rivalries will be built and rivalries will be established with the Rays and whomever else. But I would think that on paper and depending on how things shake out, the Rays would be an easier path to making the playoffs and hopefully winning a World Series down the line. And, based on what Rob Manfred has thrown out there previously, maybe a salary cap's coming next. I mean, think about all the changes that we've seen over the last handful of years between pitch clocks and universal DH and ABS system. I think maybe there could be a little bit more parity on the floor if additional changes are made in the future. And yeah, I mean, if you're in the National League, I guess, the true behemoth is the Dodgers, which is always going to be a tough challenge. But yeah, I think whatever we can do to increase the competitiveness and allow not just the Rays, but more teams have a fighting shot at making the playoffs, makes it fun, makes it interesting, keeps fan bases engaged. I mean, think about that's what the NFL's calling card is they have, any year you could have a team go worst to first.
And with the playoff path, I would say this. Obviously, I think it would be easier because if you have the expansion team and the Marlins, obviously in this scenario, we're thinking that it's going to take a while for the expansion team to get going. And the Marlins have had 3 seasons over 500 since the year 2000. So
Right.
like this is the scenario that we're going with, guys. So you would have more games against those 2 clubs, meaning that, okay, your path to a good record at the end of the year would give you a playoff path. So that's where we're going with the playoff path. But
I don't think the Marlins are going to be hitting 9 home runs in one ball game against the Rays anytime.
Because that would be humiliating to watch that game, right? That
really would be, yes.
And honestly, that would block your playoff path. That would block your playoff path, right?
Yeah, hot take here, but I like a little bit of change. I like a little bit of shakeup. We know every year that we're gonna have a bunch of games, less than previously, but still a bunch of games against the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Blue Jays and the Orioles. I want to see. I just want to see something different at some point. Maybe I'm just jaded by getting beaten up this year and some previous years as well. But I think you give it enough time, people will stop squawking. You'll either watch baseball and go to games or not watch it. Like if this is going to break your fandom, I don't know. You got better things to focus on, I guess.
I agree with that. I think the baseball sickos like you and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of Locked On Rays listeners, they got us, guys. They've got us. Yeah. We're gonna watch baseball. It's done.
Yeah.
Now
bigger bases doesn't matter. Universal DH doesn't matter. Runner on second in extra innings doesn't matter.
Can we say that we don't like things? Can we say we don't like that? Sure. Yeah. It wasn't like when I grew up. We can say that, sure. But we're gonna watch. Now they're just trying to do this to get more people to watch. They've got us. They don't know if they can get more people involved. So if we look at it from that lens, guess what? I'm going to be happy if the Rays are going to have an easier path to the playoffs every year and every year out. Because like if we already have, hey, we can beat the Yankees, we can beat the Red Sox. Guess what? Yeah, we can beat the Braves. We can beat the Marlins. We can beat the expansion team. Like I'm going to be way more confident in this team year in and year out on their playoff odds than I currently am, Kevin. That's where I think if you don't like this idea, I think that's where your focus should be. The Rays would have an easier path to the playoffs if this were to happen.
Yes, indeed. And now, while realignment sounds clean on paper, there are many ways this could work.
Thank you for listening to Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Kevin, with new divisions, with realignment, with expansion, there are many ways we could solve this. And The Athletic had a great article on it. I know Jim Bowden has done it as well. And multiple articles have been written about this. But
which pretty much, I think all this started was Rob Manfred doing an interview on a Little League broadcast. And then he shook up the world as it is his want occasionally. And I'm here for it. I'm a supporter of Manfred, actually.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was like a 60-second little blip, and we all caught on to it. We're like,
I mean, little side note here, but he might be the closer in keeping the Rays in Tampa Bay.
He might be, and we've had people on here that have said exactly that. But I know there are many ways to go about this, but I was looking at it in a division with the Marlins and the Braves and the expansion team. That would be kind of cool. New rivalries, like we talked about in the segment 1. Okay, could be an easier playoff push, like we talked in segment 2. But right now, I'm like, wait, there might be another way where you can actually reward the best teams to the playoffs. And that would be no divisions. Forget about divisions. Forget about American League West and National League West and National League East and National League South. Forget about all of that and just put 16 teams on the West, 16 teams on the East. I know some of you folks are going to say, wait. Well, that would mean that you have a team like the White Sox on the West Coast. Yeah, buddy. Right now we have the Mariners in the same division as the Texas Rangers. It doesn't make sense now, and it won't probably make sense later.
I'm looking at that map. That is such a long way to travel. That is insane.
It's insane.
I mean, I guess it is kind of insane when you look at Rays traveling to Boston and New York. But based on the eye test here, Seattle, way up in the boonies, traveling all the way to Texas and vice versa.
So it's not going to be perfect.
That's just not that's not palatable.
It's not. So like I get, calling the Chicago White Sox on the West Conference or West League or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to rub some people the wrong way. But right now it ain't perfect either. So let's get over that hump. Once you do this, you have 2 leagues of 16. Now you can say, hey, the best 6 teams with the best records go. Because I'm honestly tired of being an AL East fan of a team that wins 90 wins and sometimes doesn't even get to the playoffs. I know people are going to say, well, now that doesn't happen with the 3 wild cards. Fine, but it used to happen. Just award, if we're having a 162 game season, we should make it mean something. And you make it mean something by saying win the most games you can out of 162 and you get to go to the playoffs. Not, hey, actually, you don't have to win as many games as that other guy because the third spot would never. Like, you could have a situation, Kev, where a team in a division like Pittsburgh, Mets, Phillies, and Washington, and then the third team there has a better record than a first place team in another division, and then they don't get in. I'm sick of that. We should take this moment of realignment through expansion to say the best records are the ones that are going to the playoffs, not any division, not any kind of realignment. I just award the best teams.
I am on board with that. I guess it does somewhat defeat the purpose of, I guess the divisions are in name only and just for travel and geographic purposes. So by your hypothesis and belief is that, we're in the NL South with the Braves, the Marlins, and say Nashville, though it doesn't matter if you're the winner of that division. It's based on overall record. So theoretically,
I'm going further than that. I'm saying don't even do divisions anymore. I'm going radical here, people. And I know that you guys can put it down in the comments like, how can we not have divisions? Well, we didn't have divisional play until like the late 60s. So like Bob Gibson.
So was your idea to have every team play every other team the same amount of times?
Yes. So, and just like do it geographically. So where, yes, the amount of travel would decrease some to what you currently do because of interleague play and all that, and then going to the West. But so it would decrease, but not decrease as much as it would if you have divisional play of, hey, we're only playing, the Braves, the Miami Marlins, and the expansion team the most, and then playing some of them the other. Like, I'm saying, forget about that. Just do geographically an East and West league, and then the best teams out of each league, 6 on each side, get to the playoffs.
I can get on board with that. Isn't that sort of what the NBA does and the NHL does? NFL, obviously, there's more tie-in to winning your conference, but yeah, it is tiresome to see. We've seen division champions that have won like 86 games and, they're on easy street. Whereas, we've been in the AL East and we win 90, 91, 92 games and we're, left out or just on the cusp of the wild card. So I do like it from that perspective. Now I will say, if you're going to be expanding to 32 teams, I know you're not a huge fan of expanded playoffs, but I would not hate the idea of having a 7th team or having some sort of play-in tournament for those teams on the bubble. So 6 are in on each side, and then maybe teams 7 and 8 do some sort of play-in tournament to, spice it up a little bit and give more teams chances to make the dance. That's what I would add to your idea, especially if you're going to 32 teams.
I think I see the reasoning there. You're right. I'm not a proponent because I'm like 162 games and then like half of the league comes on. Like
I get it.
It's rough for me to get on board. I see where you're going at it, but I think I need to see holes in this. I know the holes are probably going to be like, well, you're diluting rivalries by not having divisions, but I think
rivalries are already going to get shaken up as it is.
Exactly. If you're going to change it up, change all of it up. I think this is a prime opportunity for MLB to reward the best records, not this arbitrary, that's the word, arbitrary divisional thing. Oh, well, sorry, the AL Central has to have their leader has to get in with 87 wins, and then there's a 4th team in the AL East with 90 wins that doesn't get in.
Yeah.
None of that. Enough. If we're playing 162 games, the 162 games must mean something. They must mean something. And they mean something if you win the most games out of the 162 and you get to get rewarded to the playoffs.
Real quick on that point, would you change the wild card or division format, best of 3, best of 5, and making them all best of 7?
I would put the best.
Leave it as it is.
I would be okay with putting the division in 7 games. I would be okay with leaving the wild card with 3 games.
Okay. So again, you're putting more weight on the teams that are winning the most games. Exactly. I'm good with that. Let's make it happen. Let's call Rob.
Okay.
After the
show. Do that. Lunch break.
Which, by the way, real quick, that floating expansion team. I mean, obviously there's going to be one on the West Coast. I think
right.
Portland and some other cities have been mentioned. But do you truly believe it's going to be Nashville, or it's a toss-up right now between Nashville, Charlotte, Charleston? Who knows?
They all could be Nashville, Orlando, Raleigh, Charleston. I think maybe even a city that we haven't even really talked about could pop up in the on the East Coast. But yeah, as the West Coast, we've talked Portland, Vancouver, Salt Lake would be interesting. Yeah, but I think there are cities that might be overlooked right now that could potentially pop up. Yeah.
Well, one thing we can guarantee is changes are coming to baseball in the next couple of years. Every year, changes are coming to the game, whether you like it or not. On that note, thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast. We appreciate it. For your next listen, check out the Locked On MLB Game Night show. That is every game, every night on the Locked On MLB channel. You can find that on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts.